I might have just found the coolest looking Raspberry Pi case. Notice how I said coolest looking? And not the best Raspberry Pi case? Let's get into it. The Vilros Keyboard and Touchpad Hub is probably one of the coolest looking Raspberry Pi cases I have seen so far. The Raspberry Pi 400 just wasn't the retro look I was going for, but this case just took retro PC gaming emulation to the exact microcomputer level I was looking for. As you can see, the case looks pretty similar to the Commodore 64 or the Amiga 500. If you push down on the plastic, it feels pretty stable, but overall, it's pretty cheap. And if you drop it on a hard surface, I guarantee it's probably gonna crack. On the left side of the case is a cutout for the Raspberry Pi 4's USBs and the Ethernet. The plastic on the Ethernet side is not flush, so I think this might have been done to support past models of the Raspberry Pi. There are also cutouts on the back for the 3.5mm headphone jack, 2 micro HDMIs, and a Type-C power. Also notice 2 small circle cutouts which I have no clue what these might be used for, so if you know, please let us know in the comments down below. Keyboard and touchpad is obviously on the top, but we shall get more in depth on those after assembly. In the box, there was a bottom panel that was not attached to the rest of the case, and this is where the Pi goes. There are 4 plastic standoffs. Place the Pi on top of these. Make sure the GPIO pins are facing the tall part of this panel. Included in the kit were 3 screws in a small baggie. Fasten the Pi with the 3 screws, leaving 1 standoff empty because this will be used to fasten the panel down. Now you will notice there's a fan in the case. The directions will tell you to connect the red wire to pin 1 and the black to pin 14. Now I tried this and yeah, nothing. Turns out it's pin 4 and pin 6. There is absolutely no way to secure the fan in the case unless you glue it, so obviously it was an afterthought. And you might want to look for a different way to cool the Pi. Oh look, there's a wireless dongle inside. Remove this because there's no other way of getting it out once you secure the bottom panel. And there's also a compartment for 2 AAA batteries. Add batteries now because there's no way of adding them later. Within the bottom of the case is also the battery compartment cover, and now it's time to button up the bottom panel with the 6 other included screws. Now that everything is secure, you might notice that it is going to be a pain every time you want to change the batteries. And also, you can't just put the dongle away without unscrewing the panel. But there is a little detachable panel to access the micro SD card. At least they gave us that. The keyboard isn't anything to write home about. The keys feel cheap, hollow, and feel like the start button of a retro controller when pressed down. Turns out it has the same, which I'm not sure I can call these switches, but keys from the Pi 400 and some newer laptops chiclet keys. At first, when I plugged the dongle into the Raspberry Pi, there was no response from the keyboard. And then I remembered there was a mystery panel at the top. Quick look at the manual and discovered there was a power switch within. Lost opportunity here to make this an SD card storage, and the cover sometimes falls in, which is a pain to get out. Now typing on it isn't so bad. Didn't find myself making a ton of mistakes, but I did feel weird because the keys are so close together. And for some reason, I was somehow pressing the space bar frequently. The touchpad also has a cheap plastic feel, but seems to be responsive during regular use, and the buttons honestly aren't so bad. Above the touchpad are some navigation and volume buttons, which is a nice touch. So how does it game? Well, no different than the Raspberry Pi 400, but it looks much cooler doing it. Even though the Vilros has that microcomputer look I have been searching for, and it does look cool, I just wish it was made of better quality. Maybe a metal case, a mechanical keyboard, and a Mr. Edition. Which leads me to say that the only way I'm gonna get an authentic retro computer gaming experience is to finally pick up a Mr. Don't think that I'm done with the Vilros Keyboard and Touchpad case for the Raspberry Pi just yet. I'd like to see if I could get an M.2 adapter and maybe even possibly somehow fit a graphics card in there. Hey, a geek can dream. Links in the description to the case and to follow us on social. I think that's it for now. I'll see you in the next one. Hey guys, instead of staring at my ugly mug, why don't you go ahead and check out one of our other videos? 1, 2, I'll wait. My busted face ain't going nowhere.